And then we started a series just last weekend called Ephesians. It's all about new life. And we said we're going to kind of camp out in this book of the Bible, Ephesians. It's a book that was written to an ancient church by an ancient, he wasn't ancient at the time, he was, just like us, but he wrote to a church called the Ephesians. They were in the city of Ephesus, and he wrote this letter to them from jail. And this book of the Bible, it's 6 chapters. It is absolutely packed. I mean, it is packed with kind of mind-blowing stuff. And if you wanted to get kind of the big picture of what happens to us when we say yes to Jesus and what it means to become a child of God, this would be a phenomenal book to pick, right? So if you're kind of starting from ground zero, you're in a good place. You're kind of in the right spot. If you've been following Jesus for a long, long time, I think you're going to walk away with some incredible insight. We're going to see some of this even today, where we're going to just hear the words of God and take them at face value. And at least in my life, I've been absolutely blown away by the things that God just kind of matter-of-factly says here in his word. And if we believe these things and get a hold of them, it has the power to really transform our lives. And we started talking about this just last week. If you missed that conversation, maybe check out our YouTube channel. You can watch that online and get caught up that way. Kind of had a foundational conversation last weekend. But here's really the big idea of what we started with, is we said, in general, in religion, how it tends to work is a version of this, right? If you go pursue some religious path, you're going to find that, generally speaking, this is how things are described, that you kind of have to do some religious stuff, and then if you do enough religious stuff and do it the right way, and you do it long enough, then eventually you attain this certain achievement where you are okay with God. Right? And in general, there's kind of this end game that you're going for in religion, and this religious pursuit aims you at getting to that end point. When it comes to following Jesus, the entire thing is reversed. And you get the end game at the very beginning. Like literally, the moment you say yes to Jesus, you're totally in. You receive this new life. Your destiny is set. You belong to a new family, the family of God. And the Bible now tells you all of these things that have become true of you. Literally, in a moment, this transformation happens. And the Bible talks a lot about this, that we're made new on the inside, right? We're transformed on the inside. And as that transformation begins to work in me, it shows up outwardly more and more and more in the kinds of stories that we heard even today, right? So that change begins. And so the book of Ephesians is breaking down for us, what is this new life like? What does it mean? What does it do? Like how deep does the rabbit hole go? Like how serious is this thing? And one of the things I'd want to challenge you with is if you grew up in a religious environment that was kind of matter of fact, we just kind of do the church thing and you're kind of used to it and it didn't really change your life. It's just kind of a habit or a tradition that your family maybe did sometimes here and there. Man, I can't encourage you enough to make a little bit of a momentary pause with your background and just to hear what we're going to look at today just with a fresh set of ears and see it with a fresh set of eyes. Because if just simply taking what we're going to look at here at face value, it's just absolutely mind-blowing. And this has been my experience. If we don't know each other, I didn't grow up in church. So I had none of the religious baggage in my past. And so I discovered and am continuing to discover the things that we're talking about here as an adult. And so for me, it's all it's new and fresh and continuing to change me and alter me in radical ways. And I think that's what God wants for us in a powerful way. So here's what we're going to look at today. Last week we talked about identity. Today we're going to talk about kind of the power that is underneath change in our lives. Like really where real power comes from and what set of possibilities that opens up for us. And when I think about this, I think about this from the perspective of being a parent now. Like I've got 4 kids, and so I watched my kids as they became children, started to communicate and could interact. I watched them, and they have this unbelievable range of possibilities in their minds. Like incredible range, right? When they think about life and what's possible, it's kind of like everything is possible, right? The possibilities are almost endless. And so you'll get questions. I remember getting questions like this. My kids are a little bit older now, but I remember getting questions like this. Hey, Dad, why can't we live with tigers? Huh? I was like, that's a solid question, man. As an adult, I realize that that's not a good idea. Like, we shouldn't do that in general. Some people live with tigers. I don't know them, but I know that some people do. In general, the average human should not live with a tiger, right? It's just a thing. But for him, he's like, this doesn't make any sense. I like tigers. I want one in my house. Why not? Why not this? Simple, right? My kids, they thought that Dad at any given moment was ready to catch them when they jumped off of any surface. Any height, any time, 0 notice. I'm like, could you say my name first? Like, just please, right? But they had total faith. It's all possible. Can we fly? Can I ride a tiger? Can you catch me, Dad? Can we go to the moon? I mean, you name it. The possibilities are endless. And and what happens, here's an interesting thing. I just realized that this is what plays out. The possibilities are so many. And then what happens in life is then what happens is we have this assumption, we have this faith that something can happen, and then we experience life and it's hard or painful. Dad doesn't catch you. You shouldn't live with a tiger or a raccoon or any other wild creature. And you're like, maybe not, right? And then what happens is the possibilities start shrinking. And they start shrinking like a lot. And then over time, they get really, really, really narrow. And just follow it with me. This is what happens. Our possibilities get boiled down into this very predictable, manageable, safe-ish zone of what is capable in my life, in what is capable through me, what is capable in me, and we kind of land here. And the risk and the adventure and the awe evaporates away, and we're left with this, right? And it kind of turns into this normal for us. Now, what I want to do today is introduce to you a picture that is, I think, going to radically challenge this situation right here. It's going to radically challenge it. Now, we're not going to go back to the childlike view of possibilities necessarily, but there is a childlike faith that's going to expand the way that we think about our lives and what's possible, again, in us and what's possible through us. I want to show you these verses. Again, we're just going to look at a couple, man. I wish we had kind of unlimited time because there's so much here. It's incredible. But I really just want to narrow us down into a few verses. Here's the first one, Ephesians 1:17. If you have the Bible with you, you can open up to Ephesians chapter 1. And if you don't have a Bible, you can take one with you if you want. There's some underneath the chairs there, and you can write your name in it, take it home with you. We'd love to give that to you as a gift. Here's what Paul says, leader in the early church, 1:17. He says, I keep asking that the God of our Lord Jesus Christ, the glorious Father, may give you the spirit of wisdom and revelation that you may know him better. That you may know him better. So he says, hey, man, I'm pleading. This guy's writing from jail, by the way, right? He's writing from jail. And he's saying, he's thinking about these people that he spent time with, and he loves them. And he says, here's what I'm pleading with God about. I'm praying that you would begin to understand the God of possibilities, the God who is far more than just a manageable religion, Right? I want you to know him better. And this idea of know is not just know about him. It's not just knowing factoids about God or verses about blah, blah. This is an experience of God. I want you to experience him, to know him, to interact with him. Like we heard here in some of these stories, right? That there would be an interaction with God that changes and alters us at a deep level. And he's saying this to followers of Jesus. I'm asking the glorious Father to give you this kind of eye-opening experience. He goes on, and he says, I pray that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened, in order that you may know, again, that know is experiential, in order that you may know the hope to which he has called you, the riches of his glorious inheritance in his holy people. We could camp out here all day. I just want to touch on it for a minute. He's praying. He's saying, here's what I'm praying for you. Fascinating prayer. He's not praying for them to have all their problems go away. He's not praying that their life got easier. He's not praying that they win the lottery. He's not praying that they became rich and famous. Here's what he's praying for. He's saying, I'm pleading with God, right, the glorious Father. I keep going to him. And I'm praying that you would have an awakening on the inside, that the eyes of your heart would be enlightened, and that there would be a wake-up call. And I see it, so that I begin to understand some things, and I begin to get my head around some things that were always true and always real, but I couldn't see them. I want my heart to be open and my mind to be expanded to be able to begin to get a hold of this. This is what Paul is praying. This expectation, this hope is the idea, right? That hope is the idea that it's a fixed thing that's going to happen. This expectation he's called you to, the riches of his glorious inheritance in his holy people, the fact that God relishes in the people that he is calling to himself and welcomes into his kingdom. He says this, I pray that your eyes would be opened so you could see this hope more and more. He wants them to know the hope. He also wants them to know a second piece, and this is where we're really going to camp out. And his incomparably great power for us who believe. He says, I want you to know the hope, and I want you to know the power. Watch how it plays. I want you to know this incomparably great power for us who believe. He says that power is the same as the mighty strength he exerted when he raised Christ from the dead. And he seated him at his right hand in the heavenly realms. Let me just keep going, then we'll make a picture on the whiteboard, which will be fun. Right? He seated him in the heavenly realms far above all rule and authority, power and dominion, and every name that is invoked, not only in the present age, but also in the one to come. And God placed all things under his feet and appointed him to be head over everything for the church. Okay, you ready? Here's the idea. This is wild. Here's what happened. Jesus left heaven, left his place of comfort and his place that he had a right to, and out of a deep love and passion for us and out of obedience to God the Father, he became a man. He put skin on. And not only did he become a man, he became a man in a certain country, in a certain time, in a certain place, and spoke a certain language, and he lived his life perfectly, and eventually, even though he was righteous in every way, he would lay himself down ultimately in death on the cross. And it would be this act of humility on the part of Christ that we would read about in other parts of the Bible that would lay this foundation and lay a possibility for you and I to have the ability to have our sins forgiven and to become right with God. That's what Jesus was doing. Marker. What Paul just told us is something very interesting. He said that when Jesus was dead, that God exerted mighty strength when he raised Jesus from the dead. When he brought him out of the grave and resurrected him, there's a mighty strength that he exerted when he did that. And then here's what he said. Just follow with me. He said he raised him from the dead, and then he seated him in the heavenly realm. He put life into his dead body, totally dead. No life. He's resurrected, and then he's elevated, he's exalted up, and he is now at the right hand of God, seated next to him. He is far above. He's far above all rule and all authority and every name that is invoked. He is above every power and every source of power. Let's get our heads around this for a minute. There is a strength and an energy that raised Jesus from a dead, perceived to be criminal, to the name above all names, to the power above all powers, to the one whose name is higher than every name that we could think of. His dominion is above every government, every rule, higher than the Roman Empire, higher than America, higher than China, higher than anything we can think of, higher than any evil, higher than any evil that we know of, higher than any conspiracy, higher than anything that we fear, higher than any educational system, higher than any science, higher and above all of it. He is the name above all names, and God placed all of this under his feet. Just track it. He appointed him. He appointed him to be the head of the church. He appointed him to be the head for everything over the church, the global movement of all who would call in the name of God. The guy who was dead in the grave is now the ruler of all, above all possible names and authorities and rulers, and the movement that is spreading across the whole globe. He's the guy. He's the one at the top of all of it. Here's what I want us to see. Okay? I just want us to see what the Bible is simply saying. He's saying, God did that, and he did that. He placed all rule and authority under his feet. He raised him from the dead. He seated him next to him in the heavenly realms. He appointed him to be head of the church. And now, here's the reality. This is bonkers. Is he says, hey, this right here, this power, the power that did all this stuff we just talked about, this power, here's your phrase. Here's a phrase that I would love this phrase to be burned into your consciousness. And you can get a tattoo of this. You look, his incomparably great power for us who believe. Listen to this phrase. Here's the phrase. That power is the same. It's the same. This power that's here for us is the same as the power that did all this stuff. That's really good news. Like really stupid, crazy good news. Okay. Here's where this shows up. Here's where this shows up. If I hear this, and then I go to live my life, and I'm a follower of Jesus, I can't go back to my normal life now and say things and believe things like this. I'll never get over this. This will never change in my life. There's no hope for my marriage. I'll never beat this addiction. This kind of thing never happens for people like me. My family has never done very much with themselves, and neither will I. I'll always be like this. I'll never. Here's why. Right? I can't say things like that anymore. Why? Because I'm sitting on the powder keg of unlimited power that raised Jesus from the dead. Right? That just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Now, here's the thing. When I go back to my list of possibilities, if I'm reading this correctly, and what Paul is helping us see is this is nothing. This is crazy. Your possibilities are way out here. And by the way, one day when you're in heaven, you will sit with tigers. It's actually kind of sweet, right? But in the meantime, God might look at us and say, why are you thinking so small? Why are you thinking that you're going to be stuck like this forever? Why are you thinking that nothing can change you? Why do you think that's impossible? Why do you say things like that? Why do you say that can't be? If what we're reading, the simple truth, does it mean that it's going to be automatic? No. Does it mean it's going to be easy? No. Does it mean I'm never going to fail again? No. But it says it right here that the power that raised Jesus from the dead is right here. And Paul says, here's the thing, I can't help you get a hold of this. I can't say it enough. So what I'm going to do is ask God to open your heart to be able to reveal it. Is it possible that I have been stuck because I just haven't known what's available and I haven't known the kind of power that's in my corner? That I haven't known that power is, look at those last two words in the first line, that incomparably great power is for us. It is for us. Here's what God is, when he looks at you and I, here's what he's longing to see happen. I believe this. And I'm trying to get this to show up in my life more and more. He's looking at us and he's saying, I don't even think you can handle what I'm trying to do with you. The blessing that I want to make you. The change that I want to break in you. What it's going to cost you is I'm going to have to get through this. I'm going to have to move into, this says fear. I have awesome handwriting. Okay, this I'm going to have to move into fear and stretch and put my toe out there when it feels scary. Because last time I tried to change this in me, last time I went to counseling, last time I went to church, last time I tried to get sober, last time we went to go work on it, it didn't go so well, and now I'm scared. I'm back here I'm limited. God's looking at us and he's saying, I need you. I want you to lean into the fear, and I want you to get back up. Because I don't think when you did this the first time that you knew this. I think you thought you could just do some stuff and your go juice would make it happen. Okay, here's the thing, guys. Here's my big conclusion. I just don't have enough go juice. Not on my own. The Ryan go juice meter is low. The go juice of Jesus is unlimited. I just realized I said that in church. I don't know. I don't. Yeah, it's still true. Okay, so right, I got to lean into the fear. If I'm going to see this expand, I got to lean into things that make me afraid. Is it possible that bitterness could go away? Is it possible that there could be healing in that wound? Is it possible there could be new life in that broken relationship? I don't know. It seems like there's at least, it's in the realm. Guys, I've seen crazy stuff. In my little experience, in my small time, in my little fragment of history, I have seen people who are homeless find joy and strength and health. I've seen marriages that were straight up dead come back to life. I've seen people that were men who were flatlined and dead in life, like dead men walking, find purpose and become an unstoppable force. It was as if they were dead and now they're alive. I've seen people that thought that they were beyond forgiveness find an acceptance and a healing that set them absolutely free. Why did all that happen? And what's underneath all that? It's this. It was always the same power. It's the same. It's the same. So here's where this gets really good and a little hard. Is the question starts to get like this. When I think about this reality, what this reality is going to do is it's going to put enormous pressure here. And it's going to make me begin to ask some big questions. Like this. God, what have I been limiting in my life that you want to blow past? Here's one. What's been frozen in my life? Here's a question we might ask ourselves. What's the thing that I keep coming back to over and over and over again, and it just keeps not changing? And I worry that it's never going to change, and sometimes I just feel like I should give up on it because I've tried, and now. And here's the thing. You think you're the only one that has that situation, and so do I, and it's not true. We all have that stuff. We all have that stuff. Keep coming back to it over and over again. What if we talked about it? What if we admitted it? What if we recognized that the power of Jesus is available in that? I don't totally know what would happen. But I know if we get the equation right, if we see the power rightly, that there's far more available here than what I got in the tank. I used up all my goods. So what's frozen? What's stuck? What have I abandoned? Hope for that it could ever change in me? What dream did I have for God that I just let go? Because that doesn't happen for people like me. And my heart deadened, my possibilities limited. I just kind of settled in. Watch some Netflix, Just eat something that tastes good. Get safe. Man, what if there's somebody that's longing to blow that up in you and see you alive again? Get you out of bed in the morning where there's a little bit of risk and a little bit of electricity, and I'm doing it. I'm taking steps, and I'm taking risks, and I'm trying. I'm alive. I'm not just surviving. I'm not just keeping the thing going. I'm leaning into it, and I'm afraid. That's out there somewhere in the fear at the edges that God's power starts to show up in ways that it's just different. It's just different. Here's the thing that I'm believing more and more in my own life, and it's challenging me deeply, is that here's the thing. I think the Lord might say to me, Ryan, at the end of the day, it's not just about you. It's not just about what I want to do in your life. I want to do through your life. You've got to unfreeze that so that you can become a blessing to other people. You've got to find healing so that you can be unleashed for other people. I want to use your life to bring hope and joy. I want to bring help to people, but as long as you stay in your little box over here, real nice and safe and warm, I can't do a whole lot. But if you shed it and you step out in the cold a little bit and allow some risk, you're going to be amazed at what I could do through you. In fact, we're going to see this in Ephesians 3. It's going to be more than you could think, ask, or imagine. More than you could think, listen, ask, or imagine. It's the power. It's the love that God has for us. I just refuse. Listen, I just refuse to read it any other way. You should too. I have to. It's what it says. It's what God's heart wants for us. He wants to set us loose, set us free. That when we look back, we see that this has been happening the whole time. This is what God does in the life of his children. And it won't always be comfortable and it won't always be easy, but it will be very good. As the band comes up, would you wrestle with me with these questions? Bow your heads and close your eyes as we pray. Lord, help us today to see. Open the eyes of our heart, Lord. I pray, God, I beg that of you, that you would do that in me. Help me to see it more and more. I pray that for everyone who's hearing my voice right now. Help us to see your deep love and passion for our lives. You want us to know that you are for us. You don't want us to be enslaved any longer to lies or bitterness. So God, I pray that you would help us even right now to surrender and to offer over you the areas that it's scary to trust you. In our unforgiveness, in our relational dysfunction, in that habit that just keeps coming back. Lord, today we want to confess that we believe that you have the power to change those things in us. You can do it. I can't. And we relinquish any sense of victimhood. And we claim that you are victorious, Lord, in and through us. Help us to believe it, to see it, and to embrace it, Lord, even when we're afraid. God, will you meet us right here in the middle of it, that we might be changed?